All right, Bellringer fans, living environment fanatics from across the globe, points unknown. It's time for today's Bellringer, and of course, we've been learning all about Gregor Mendel, the father of modern genetics, which is such a weird name to give your kid. Father of modern genetics. Oh wait, he didn't actually have children. He was a monk. That's part of the deal. Anyway, let's do today's Bellringer. All right. All right. Hey now.
Mr. Kovacs class. It's Mr. Kovacs class.
You might learn a ton.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
He's interested too.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
He is the father of modern genetics, Mr. Gregor Mendel. Yes, and of course, whenever you hear Mendel's name, you associate him with pea plants, peas. He's the guy that grew peas, and because of the peas that he grew, he figured out how traits are passed on from parents to offspring. Right, our story began on the Mendel family farm when he was a young tyke, and his father told him he's going to be a farmer. He didn't want to be a farmer, so he joined a monastery. He became a monk, and he got his opportunity to go to Vienna, the big city at the time, and it was really the center of art and culture of all of Europe at the time. And he was there to study, to become a teacher, to take his math and science exams, but he failed and had to go back to the monastery in shame. When he was back at the monastery, they told him, Gregor, your job is to be the gardener. And he grew plants. He grew mostly crops for the monks to eat, but among them he grew peas. And it was the peas that made him famous, or eventually the peas, because he could control which traits, he could control which traits he passed down from parents to offspring. And he figured out that a number of rules that we're going to talk about in a minute. And he wrote those rules down and sent them back to the University of Vienna, where they rejected him again a second time. And then he died. 26 years after he's died, Hugo de Vries found his work, published it, and Mendel became famous just like he always wanted to. Mendel rules. All we're saying is give peas a chance. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Gregor Mendel. So what were the rules? Well, the rules are pretty straightforward. We already know them. He used pea plants to do this, but let's see. He said that everybody's got traits, and their traits are coded for by these things he called factors. We now call them genes, but he called them factors. He didn't know anything about DNA or any of that stuff. But he did figure out that you must have 2 copies of every factor, of every gene, one you get from each parent. And some factors always show up, and some factors are covered up, depending on what they are. And so in the case of pea color, yellow seems to be the one. If you cross a purebred yellow with a pure green, you get all yellow in the next generation, which tells us that even though both parents gave, one gave yellow, the other gave green, only yellow showed up. It means showed up. It means yellow is dominant. It's dominant. Right? And then if you take one of those flowers and you self-pollinate them, right? So you have this one there, they've got 1 factor of yellow, 1 factor of green. In the next generation, they show up, well, in a ratio of 3 to 1. 3 yellows to 1 green. And then if you were to cross those, you'll see that the first one here, this is purebred yellow. Every offspring is yellow. The next 2 are what he called hybrid yellow, or what we are going to call heterozygous yellow. And you get that 3 to 1 ratio again. And then the third one is purebred, or what we're going to call homozygous green, and we get nothing but green peas. Right? Traits are passed from parents to offspring by these things called factors. Some factors are dominant, some factors are recessive, and you can make predictions about them. And to make predictions, we use what's called the Punnett square. And I'm going to show you how to use the Punnett square today in class after we play a famous game called the face game, which will explain all this to you much, much better. All right, so we keep on celebrating Gregor Mendel, the father of modern genetics, giving peas a chance since 1856.